Hello, my name is Myra Tanksley, and I am recording this on January the 6th, 2018. Happy New Year. And I am a proud single mother of a 24-year-old by the name of Marquis who has autism. He's my only child. He'll be 25 in April. He is high functioning, very intelligent, well mannered young man. Even when he was a little boy, I am a proud parent because he has just been so wonderful. And right now, the government has separated our family, not because of abuse or neglect or any dysfunction in our family, but because I'm a African American RN of 31 years who has not turned my head and has been pretty outspoken about the abuse, neglect, and exploitation and mistreatment of my son by the system. I have evidence to prove it as a way of proving that I'm not full of hot air. It's not just my son's imagination, because he's high functioning, so he does have vocabulary. It wasn't his imagination when he was telling me about the abuse and neglect, but I would be able to come in and be able to look at my son and tell that he was being abused and neglected. So he wasn't full of hot air. I wasn't full of hot air. He wasn't full of having a delusional imagination, neither was I, because I do have pictures, I have documents, and I have recordings. So I have not been allowed to see my son since March the 15th, 2015, and he hasn't been allowed to call me since May the 13th, 2017. The last time I was, through my own efforts, nothing with them, that I actually seen my son outside of the little tiny dwelling that they have him in was actually over 2 years ago too. That was on July the 8th, 2015. So I have not seen my son since, I'm going to say July the 8th, 2015. And then the last time he was allowed to visit with me was March the 15th, 2015. And I want to say it again, it's not because of abuse or neglect or that we're dysfunctional. I doubt if I would be able to practice nursing if I was abusing, neglecting my son. A lot of racism in this, because all I ever done, besides try to get services for him, that he was entitled to as a disabled individual, was speak out about the abuse of my son. But me being a black mother, I guess I was supposed to keep my mouth shut and not say anything. Because racist white people, they really don't, really, the system doesn't really want anybody to come in there and report or so-called complain about, the mistreatment of their disabled son or daughter. But they accept it more from white parents or a white mother versus a black mother. So instead of saying, yeah, okay, let's see what we could do to make things better, they went ahead and said that I escalated my son, which I have proven wrong with the recordings. Because when I say recordings, I'm talking about recordings of my son, his conversations with me, and recordings of them. That's why nobody can hit me with slander. I'm not going to get a letter saying cease and desist, stop lying on so-and-so or this agency or that agency. I got too much evidence. And when I put the facts out there, I always have evidence to go along with it. I never just complain or report or bitch and I am a Christian, I want to say that, but I'm going to use the word bitch. I never have just put a post out there. And the reason why I'm saying post is because I do have 3 Facebook pages. And I'll tell you what those are in a few. And I don't just put posts out there. I always come with evidence. That's just the way I like to do it. I'm an evidence girl. And they hate that too. So, when you're speaking up and speaking out, because I've been baffled. I said, well, just because I'm black, what, am I supposed to love Marquis less than they love their kids? I've always been baffled about that. But, so, since I come with facts and say, look, this is what's going on with my son. He's telling me this. I've seen one of your employees, a thug by the name of Rashem, punch my son in the chest. So they resented that. I mean, I think I really, really could say they definitely resented it. And so they, besides saying I escalated my son, they didn't want me to see him. They didn't want me to visit him. They knew that I collected evidence. So I'm just the mother from hell. But, I'm going like, well, now wait a minute. Because to me, I know it's racism, but racist people can be so ignorant. I said, so when these white autistic individuals are having meltdowns and aggressive behaviors, that could be physically aggression or physical aggression or verbal aggression. So when they're having these meltdowns and aggression, are they blaming these white parents? Because I used to go to a lot of autistic threads, message boards, and, just read as much as I can to learn, and just to hear from other people that are living with it. And you could just read about everything and anything related to autism, from therapies to education to medication to behaviors to different age spans and adults with autism and children with autism. It was just very, very revealing. And I never, ever read any of those parents saying, but they say I escalate my son and daughter. Now they would talk about their behaviors, especially with your lower functioning autistics. They could be really, really, really violent, or either they're not. But even your Asperger's, which is the highest level of autism, they can have behaviors. So what I'm saying is that autistics or individual autism, whether they're verbal or not, they can still communicate with behaviors that can be pretty unsafe, can be pretty aggressive at times. So they were right, that, and I'm talking about these parents now, will be writing, saying how their sons and daughters could sometimes, not only injure themselves, then that's why someone was wearing helmets, but they will also be injuring them and their siblings, because parents are going, I got bites or black eyes, scratches where, their son or daughter had a meltdown and that sort of thing. But they never said anybody told them that they were escalating them. And of course, now, especially in the state, just because you have a agency that is a developmental disability agency, because they don't like to say MRDD, they like to say DD now. It doesn't mean diddly squat. I have yet to meet anybody in the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities and Franklin County Board of Developmental Disabilities that really knew about autism. Because when he was over at this state facility that I'm actually doing the tapes, and I better just go ahead and tell you, the 3 Facebook pages are The Abuse and Neglect of Autistic Marquis Tanksley by the government, Justice for Autistic Marquis Tanksley, and the audio tapes of Marquis Tanksley, his suffering, abuse, and neglect. And so that last one, the audio tape page, is what I'm putting recordings of Marquis, because they try to say that I escalate my son, he hates me, I get him all upset and all this kind of stuff, and I'm proving them wrong. I said, because they don't have to speak for my son. He's able to verbalize his feelings, and vent his frustrations, which is what he was doing. I said, well, he's venting to me, not because of me. Maybe y'all didn't treat him like an animal and had it too noisy and didn't know how to work with him. He wouldn't be telling me these things. So that's what that third page is for. The other two are just full of evidence. And that's why I tell people to start, when you go to it, if you're going to it for the first time, just go to it at the beginning. When I first created the page, don't go from the most recent post. So that's what I'm doing with the audio tape page. And I'm still in 2012. So I got many recordings to upload. And they go to YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. And then I have the 3 Facebook pages. So these audio, and I call them audio videos. They hardly never have videos on them. They're just usually audio with a blank screen, because I don't want people looking at me. I want people to hear what I'm saying. Then they go over to Facebook. But I do have a videotape of the last time I seen my son. And it was shocking because of how much weight he has gained. They have him on Thorazine. And I said, they don't even give true mentally ill people Thorazine anymore, because it's usually for schizophrenia. And it's one of the real hard-line antipsychotics and tranquilizers. So they put him on a maximum dose of that, start him on lithium, and he has to take a cogentin because of the side effects. But I'm a Christian, and God's got this. And I realize, and I know God will have to bring him back home, because God is in control. He's in control in my life, my son's life, and their lives. He controls the whole world. And Marquis ain't going through what he's going through because he deserves it. He ain't no inmate. He ain't no criminal. He's never done nothing to nobody. He's a wonderful, smart, intelligent young man. And so God is going to have to bring the justice, because these people are just government filth. Every last one of them. From Governor John Kasich going down. And nobody going to hit me with slander. And I have contacted a lot of people about this. But I realize our help and who's going to have to defeat this is God. Because all these people work in concert. And they're just government filled. And the Bible's full of injustice. Just full of it. And I have read, I think, probably at least 10 scriptures related to injustice. Because they're in the book of Psalms, is in the Old Testament, is in Proverbs, is in the New Testament, reference to injustice. And then another disturbing scripture, because God is very angry with injustice and what he's going to do about it. And it's found in the book of Proverbs. And it says, there are people who take cruel advantage of poor and needy people. That is the way they make their living. I said, bingo. That's the scum that we have in our lives. Because, and when I say poor and needy, and I believe what God means is that not people that are lazy. I'm talking about people that are oppressed by a system that should be helping them because of their disability, because of their sicknesses, because they're not able to provide for themselves or something like that. And I said, do these people know that they're offending God? Because Jesus said, when you do it to the least of my brethren, there's going to be a lot of people that have to answer to Jesus face to face with that. When you have done it to the least of these, you did it to me. If you haven't done this to the least of these, it's like you ain't done it to me. People are going to have to answer to Jesus face to face. That's how much he cares about the least. And I just gave a white guy what money I had left over in my car today. And I always give him a gospel track. I said, just because of Jesus. Not because of Myra Tanksley, but because of Jesus. I said, who am I to turn my head from, and I don't care if he's a drug addict or whatever, or if he's going to collect it to go buy him a bottle of booze, or that's what my aunt used to call it, booze, or beer or wine and stuff. I told him, I said, this is because of Jesus. Because maybe he was hungry. He had a homeless sign. But God cares about how you mistreat the unfortunate. But God, that's what God says. These people exist. I ain't seen not one decent word in the Bible about injustice. God is, of course, angry with all sin, but he's very angry with injustice. It's throughout the Bible. And I said, nobody don't want to sit across the table from me and get their feelings hurt. So their thing is that they like they do all the time behind closed doors. They just sweep all this stuff, up under the rug until somebody gets a hold of it or God decides he wants to expose it through somebody. That's why they do it. But I said, that's a sad thing. And, when you think injustice, who you think God is talking about? He's not talking about the average Joe on the street. He's talking about these courts, corrupt courts, abusive agencies, lying lawyers, attorneys, court investigators. He's talking about people that work in the illegal system that take cruel advantage. Like my son is living in poverty in a rundown, tiny Section 8 townhome. And I mean tiny, like when you walk in the front door and you take 10 more steps forward, you're in the back door. That's how tiny it is. And it's in a terrible crime-ridden neighborhood. That's why they had to put, because it's owned by the state of Ohio, so you know how they keep it all in the system so they all can make money off of, And it's so terrible, the neighborhood, they have a metal gate that they put up around it. A metal lock gate, but sometimes it wasn't locked. The gate was left open. I got pictures of it too. But that's where they got him living. And like the last time he talked to me, I was still trying to find out where he was. Because I'm going like, I love my child. And I'm going to show him how much I love my child. But, God is on our side. I said, because he's treated worse. And it's like he's in a prison. I said, but at least these inmates even get family calls or phone calls and family visits. They get visits from their family and phone call. And I said, he can't even see his own mother. But I'm a victim in this thing too, because that trifling, dirty, unfit, racist, fraudian guardian that was appointed by the corrupt probate court of Franklin, Ohio, Franklin County, Ohio, probate court of Franklin County, Ohio. So, or you could say Franklin County, Ohio, probate court. They appointed this dirty, trifling, unfit attorney by the name of Aaron Sanford, who lied on me. And that's why I said she's lying. She's corrupt and everything else. She can't send me no cease and desist, because I'll tell her go ahead and make sure she look at those and listen to those 3 recordings I have that proves how she lies. And of course I told Ohio Supreme Court Disciplinary Council about it, wrote a grievance. They just swept it under the rug. Because I told them about how she was lying on me and how she was doing my son. But he would tell me, and he was physically neglected the last time I seen him. His hair was all matted and dirty and stuff. Dry lips. It was July the 8th. He had on sweatpants and long sleeve sweat. You could just look. He wasn't groomed or anything. And he needs help with that. But he was telling me a lot that he only eats like 1 meal a day. And I'm going like, why? Because at home he ate 3 meals a day and snacks. And I'm going like, huh? And so he finally admitted that the food was low. But this woman is getting his SSI check while he lives in poverty and neglect and abuse. And then we're coming to those tapes where, because I know God's going to bring him back home. But my job is to expose these people. And there's nothing they can say. When I say they're government filth, they're government filth. These people to me are no better than any criminals out in the street. They're legalized criminals. If I don't even want to call them legalized, because what they're doing, I said, because he has no kind of rights. His constitutional rights, I mean, it's just nothing. He doesn't have any civil rights. He doesn't have any human rights. I said, they treat animals better than they treat my son. He doesn't have no constitutional rights. And my rights as a mother has been trampled, because you're not really supposed to separate a family unless there's some sort of dysfunction or abuse or neglect going on. And that's why I said, now I understand when people take the knee at the national anthem. I said, obviously, they're not all into being, well, this is the national anthem and this is the flag. They're actually having a conscience and looking at what it means. What is the meaning of the national anthem? What does it say? And that's the reason why you got people taking knees out there. Now, I don't get into the national anthem, but I probably wouldn't even stand for it now. But the Pledge of Allegiance, when they come to that life, liberty, and justice for all junk, and pursuit of happiness and all this kind of stuff, I don't even want to stand up for it. Because it's a lie. I said, my son ain't having no life, liberty, and justice for all, and pursuit of happiness, and all that kind of stuff. And in a way, I'm not really having it. Of course, he's suffering more than I am, but I'm a victim in this as a mother that loves my child. And my pursuit of happiness, besides serving the Lord, is being able to spend time and see my son and live with my son and take care of my son. And they have taken that away right now. They have taken our family, because they're trying to destroy our family, which is another racist thing that this country for. And like I said, I don't care who's in denial about it. This country is full of people that are in denial about racism, especially white people. And not all white people are racist. That's why you got some of them out there marching with, Black Lives Matter and other races, because they're not in denial. They can acknowledge and know that there is racism that exists in this country. And I won't say it further than that. It's been in this country since 1776. But that's why they're out there marching. They're not in denial about racism. But a lot of white people in this country are. And they don't really understand it. They get they're confused about racism versus a racist and what they truly mean and stuff. So I could care less what people, and they love to pass the ball. Now, what I'm saying, there might be some ignorant, idiotic, in denial white person say, oh, well, you're racist. No, I'm not racist when I'm telling somebody to get off of my foot. But they have no right to separate me and my son's family. And that's what they have done. And, yeah, if that family is suffering from abuse and neglect, and it's unsafe and dysfunctional, yeah. I said, but my son, when he would have meltdowns or at home, he had meltdowns like a million other families that got autistic sons and daughters. You think they done took those sons and daughters with autism away from their white parents? And they say, you escalating your son and daughter? But I'm saying that the main reason why they don't want me to have any contact with him is because they know I get evidence. I got 3 Facebook pages exposing these people left and right. So they don't give a darn with him about him. I mean, they could care less about him. He's African American. He's black male. He's got a disability. He's nothing to them. But he's other than a cash cow. But they're doing it to try to protect themselves. But one thing I have to warn people: God will use people that other people count out. But like I said, he's nothing. He's nothing but a cash cow, especially to Sanford. Because she gets what? How much is SSI now? A little over $800 a month that she gets while he lives in poverty. But I said, I'm going to expose him. And ain't nothing they're going to do about it. Because this one old lady at church, she said she was going to call Sanford. So she called Sanford months ago. And said that Sanford said I was a good advocate for my son, but she didn't like me putting stuff on Facebook. Because Sanford had wrote me a letter a long time ago talking about I didn't have legal authority to put anything about my son on Facebook. I said, huh? I said, I'm a victim in this thing. I said, besides anything you do to my child, I feel the pain as a mother. It's like you do it to me. But it ain't just a son not being able to see his mother that he adores and misses. It's a mother not being able to see her son. I said, as a mother. I said, you got 2 victims in this thing. And the way I feel about it, if I'm doing anything wrong, you're a lawyer. You go ahead and file a lawsuit against me. Just go ahead and do it. Or the state lawyers. Any of that slime. I say, ain't nobody can file anything against me. Not for abuse, not for neglect, not for slander. Because it ain't slander if it's true. And that's why I believe there was an Akron law firm that actually was hired by Mike DeWine, the Ohio Attorney General. That idiot's running for governor. Because, they run from one job to another and, try to get elected and stuff. And they were sending intimidating letters because they said that I owed them $2,000 when he was at CDC. And that's a tape that I'm getting ready to play. And you know how they send it threatening letters. And I said, well, let me call them. So I called them, didn't get them that time. Called them, I think the second time I called. Got the office manager, who wasn't an attorney. And I said, well, I'm not going to pay them half a copper penny. I said, for one thing, my son didn't ask to be over there. They illegally committed him over there because he wasn't moderately retarded. I said, my son is autistic. He's not moderately retarded. And the state statute said you're not supposed to, commit somebody over there unless they're lower functioning and have to be moderately retarded. I said, even the state psychologist who no longer works there said Marquis shouldn't have been committed over there because he wasn't lower level like that. I said, and more importantly, I don't pay anybody no money for abuse and neglecting my son. I said, I'm not full of hot air. I said, so I'm going to refer you and your law firm to my Facebook pages and see what I'm talking about. I said, but before y'all send out these letters that you're supposed to intimidate people with, you need to check out the background of the case. Did right after that, because I have a lot of pictures, I made a poster of just, some of the pictures I have of what I have had to see when I had went to visit my son. I said, ain't nobody, any other parent wouldn't want to go in there, especially them white parents. I said, but no parent that love their child would want to go in there and see my son the way I've seen him or hear what he has told me. So I made a poster and I said, would you pay anybody or anything $2,000 for treating your son like that? And it's just that's why I said if you go to the Facebook pages, the first two, not the audio tape page, because it doesn't have a lot of pictures and stuff on it. But the abuse and neglect page does. And justice page has a lot of documents. But just start when I first created those pages. And you can see what I'm talking about. After that, I got another letter from them. Because they probably told Mike DeWine, said that woman got all kind of evidence on you people. Plus, I've seen God trip up people. You got to be careful because God fights our battles. And he never loses. Because instead of putting Ohio Department of Mental Health, instead of putting the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, they put Ohio Department of Mental Health. So God made the law firm up in Akron trip it up. Because he is not under, or let me say, the state agency, Columbus Developmental Center, which is owned and operated by the state of Ohio, but they're owned and operated under the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, not the Ohio Department of Mental Health. But that's what they had down there. So God, because I've seen him do it. When you got people that are so slanderous, God will make them fall in their own traps. They try to make you fall in a trap. God will make them fall into their own traps. When they're trying to use a whole lot of dirty tricks and lies on you. Because I've been slandered like no tomorrow. But the escalation thing is their secret fantasy and stuff. And I said, well, let's see what Marquis says. I said, because if you listen to that, you think my son wouldn't want to have nothing to do with me. I said, my son ain't never told me to get out his face or get out and stuff. But he vents to me because he knows that he has a right and his mother doesn't mind him venting to me. I don't care how loud he gets. And I said, why do they think when he's venting to me about how they have mistreated him, that he's going to be quiet about it? He's in pain. He's in emotional pain. He's upset. I said, he ain't gonna say, Mom, they just hit me in my head. Robert hit me in my head. You know, he's usually hollering because he's in so much emotional pain. And I said, now, it just proves that these people don't know anything about people with autism. I say even somebody that didn't have a disability or wasn't developmentally disabled probably wouldn't be too calm about it. I said, ain't no way in the world he would be too calm. But maybe if, you know, if they didn't treat my son like an animal, worse than a criminal, then maybe when I would come over there, he wouldn't have to tell me that. Who else is he going to vent to? And he could vent to me as long as he wants to. But a lot of times I would de-escalating. But sometimes it would take a half an hour because he had to get it out. And it was like an emotional meltdown because he would scream, and then he would beg me to take him home, and then he would tell me how much he misses me, and then he would talk about how noisy it was and who assaulted him, and they were restraining him, and he was crying. I mean, it was just awful. And I said, I got the tapes to prove it. So any scum, but they think this is going to go up under the rug. But I bet you, by golly, wow, I bet you a bottom dollar, and I don't want to say bet you, I don't want to say that, but I believe that's the better way to say it. 1,000% that God gonna bust this thing wide open. And ain't nobody can touch it because I got too much evidence. But I said, I'm gonna let people hear Marquis in his own words describe his pain, his suffering, how much he misses me and loves me, how he wanted to get back home, describe incidences of abuse and neglect, and him being beaten and assaulted by both residents and staff. But I would come in there, I could see that he was abused and neglected. He wouldn't have on none of the brand new clothes that I brought up there. They were putting clothes on him that belonged to other residents or hand-me-downs while they took his new clothes. I could prove all of that. I had him sign in for the clothes. I was taking pictures and stuff. I could prove all of that stuff. Coming there is unexplained new injuries and scars and everything. So, yes, Mama Bear has been a victim in this thing, too. And I said, ain't nobody going to be able to touch it. And so what I'm doing is taking these recordings from the CDC years, because other people have mistreated Marquis, too. At school, when I went to try to get help from Franklin County Board of DD, they went ahead and sent me to Child Corruption Services, which is Franklin County Board of Franklin County Children's Services. I call it Child Neglection Services. They wanted to take custody of him so they can give him some help. And so they went ahead and tried to say that I was neglecting him. It didn't go no place. Because even the judge told him, this mother's trying to get services. She ain't trying to neglect him. But they'll do that. Because I had one of their supervisors say, well, that's the way we got to file it. I said, well, and I wish I would have taped him when he said that, but I wouldn't tape him back then. I said, so you're going to drag innocent parents through and charge them with horrific things as far as abuse and neglect just because there's no other way that you could take custody. Because it comes down to being like a dependency case. But probably 95% of families with autistic individuals need services. I mean, you need them at school. They can have general ed. They have to have, the IEPs, if you know what that is. It's even federal law that these kids have to have special education and stuff. So you need your therapies. You need your speech therapy. Because I had my son, I think he started his speech therapy when he was 3 years old. Because I started him in preschool. But it was a special needs, special ed preschool. So he started off when he was 3 years old. To help with his speech and OT and, the sensory overload, and you learn how to calm them down because of the nervous system and all that kind of stuff. But it's just, I can write a book on the stuff I've been through, and I got all the stuff to back it up. The ignorance, the corruption, the incompetence of these people that work in these agencies and the courts that back them up because they're corrupt. and everything. So I'm putting these recordings on this audio tape page, but I'm not playing the whole conversation. I'm just recording and playing just Marquis in his own words, telling me how he feels. I mean, he has suffered so much. And I think about him every single day. And the Lord said, I got this. You just stay faithful. And I got this. Because he's going to live the life that I want him to live. And you too. He said, but you're right. He ain't going through this because I think he deserves it or whatever. Because look what Jesus went through. And the Bible said that he was numbered with the transgressors. He was without sin, but he was executed with two genuine thieves. They treated him worse than a criminal. So just because somebody do you wrong, because people say, why? Because I did have my son's guardianship. And they said, well, people like, why they take your guardianship? They took the guardianship away. It wasn't because of abuse or neglect. It's because I was exposing them. And I've spoken out about, in the past, about my son being abused and neglected and mistreated and everything. And they really can't take that from a black mother. So they had to try to find some way to try to mess with my character. You escalate your son. Well, not according to Marquis, because Marquis can speak for himself. He could tell you what was bothering him. It's all recorded. And I had to go in there and hear how my son was suffering and how he was being mistreated. And besides them not knowing how to work with autistic residents. Because that's basically a mentally retarded facility. It's like intermediate. I mean, it's an ICF-MR facility. And it actually stands for residents with mental retardation almost. Because ICF-MR stands for Intermediate Care Facility for the Mentally Retarded. They have some autistic residents over there, but they don't know how to work with them. Because I told that girl, one of their program coordinators, whatever they call them, they got their little titles and stuff. I offered them the triggers list. But she looked at me like I was crazy. I said, well, he's autistic. He's not mentally retarded. And so he has triggers, and to successfully work with him, you need to know his triggers. She still looked at me like she didn't even know what I was talking about. I said, huh? So, but that's the reason why I brought up the racism thing, And like I said, no standing up to pledge allegiance for me. I said, because it got to be for me and my son, too, and other people. Because everybody ain't got no life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness and justice for all. It ain't never been that way. And I said, my son definitely ain't got it. And like I said, Mama Bear don't really, because I said part of my pursuit of happiness and stuff is my son. And I got some corrupt, racist, filthy, sick, evil, government trash, that's interfering with me and my son's lives and our family. But they always like to have, to break up the black family. And that's a secret fantasy. Because they want to try to make my son get used to not seeing his mother and to forget about his mother. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I just kind of like, wait a minute. Do they think I'm just going to walk away and say, well, I don't have a son no more and forget about my son? I said, I don't think so. Maybe that's why, not to toot my own horn, but I said, maybe that's why God's let me go through this thing. I know some other mothers or whatever, but, my son ain't done nothing to nobody, neither have I. I just ain't going to turn my head and hang my lip down low while people abuse and neglect my son. And those white parents don't do it either, but it's a little harder for the black mother, because I'm supposed to not say anything. And I said, maybe that's why God chose me to deal with this. Because I don't like getting evidence, but when you got corrupt, racist, sick government filth like that in your life, that's what you need to do. But I don't call Sanford. And by the way, she's with the Nye Law Group. She used to be with Mashburn Law Office, but he done changed his name, got him a partner, and I think he kicked her to the curb. But I don't call her because God said, don't call none of them. And he said, especially don't call that sick, evil woman, because she's supposed to be his limited fraudian guardian. So she's the one that's stopping the visits. But she lied on me something terrible. because she tried to get us to do a supervised visit thing, and the Lord shut it down. I said, well, that's for parents that are fighting over custody and all that kind of stuff. I said, that ain't the kind of case this is. She's just, you wouldn't believe the corruption of attorneys. I said, I've done lost all respect for attorneys, unless they're a civil rights attorney. But that's who God's talking about. There's a lot of injustice. So, it's not as ethical a profession like people think it is. I just look at them. I said, but I have the best attorney in the world, and he's a just attorney with all power and authority, and his name is Jesus Christ. So let me go ahead and tell you about this particular audio tape. This was recorded on March the 6th, 2012 at Columbus Developmental Center. It's the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, ICF, MR center or facility. They call them developmental centers, but they're actually ICF, MR facilities. Located in Columbus, Ohio. And on this recording, you'll hear Marquis telling me he's not feeling all right. And then he tells me that he's very shocked and it's not fun here. And he's talking about CDC. And he said it sucks here because it's boring here. And then he was telling me that he couldn't stand the noise from the doors being closed real hard. And I would get over there, like I said, and find my son traumatized, terrorized, hiding in the closet, head cover up, trying to blot out the environment. Sometimes he would start yelling, blurting out stuff. I got restrained. They hit me on the head. Sometimes he would come out and said, I don't feel good. I'm sad. They hit me in the head and stuff. But he would vent to me because of all the hell they had put him through during the day or whatever. Because at that time, I was coming over there every day. I would talk to him in the morning and he would be upset. And as a mother that loves my baby just like any other mother, and I would say, I'll be over there because I would be planning to come. And I would bring him fruit and food because I know, he wasn't eating healthy because they don't care nothing about, especially autistic individuals. They're a lot different from somebody that's with mental retardation. Because my son, with the sensory issues that autistic people have, all 5 senses could be affected. So there was a lot of foods that he didn't like because of flavor, but it could also be texture. So they'll fix something. And they wasn't willing to try to fix things that he would eat. They were used to the MR guys and stuff. And so my son, if he didn't like what they would fix, he just didn't get to eat. Because they would fix stuff like for everybody on that little unit. And I said, well, he's new. I said, he's not going to eat all the stuff. I said, because his taste buds are a lot sensitive to food and the texture and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people think when they talk about sensory overload and integration, they think it, and most of the time it is auditory. Most autistic people don't like a lot of loud noise. It just dings their nervous system and stuff. But actually, all 5 senses are actually affected. So we're talking about sight, we're talking about touch, we're talking about taste, we're talking about the hearing, we're talking about all 5 senses. And so, if he didn't like that food, like I said, he didn't eat. So, because nobody understood that he's an autistic resident. He's not a mentally retarded resident. And that's the reason why where it wouldn't bother the mental retarded residents, the noise and stuff, it bothered my son. It would get so noisy, the music, the TV, the yelling, the hollering. They didn't understand when they took him over there to where they have their day rehab. My son couldn't tolerate it over there because of the noise and even the visual thing. Because he told me about it. It's on one of these tapes where he was scared of seeing I guess they were mentally retarded residents. They were drooling. And he didn't understand, but it scared him when he seen them drooling. You know. But I'm going like, and that's why I gave that woman the trigger list. And she looked at me like I was crazy. I said, what in the world are you doing? Or the state of Ohio admitting autistic residents, because my son is high functioning. He ain't just, severely autistic and can't. And even the severely autistic, they still have, sensory integration problems and stuff. But it ain't like that, he going to be sitting around like a zombie. But that's the reason why I decided to create that last page. I said, so people can hear Marquis in his own words. It's not the whole conversation, but it's him describing his pain, his suffering, abuse and neglect. And this is what I have to listen to as a mother. I said, I bet ain't nobody else will want to go in there and hear their son or daughter tell them the things that I've heard my son tell me, or seen him the way that I've seen him. And I said, I got it chronicled for all the ages, for all time. I got it documented. And I said, long after me and Marquis move on to our destiny, and I believe in ministry, as God sees fit to use us, those pages will still be up there. What's done is done. It can't be taken back. God will give us our life back. He'll make the latter part better than the former part. But that's only because of God, not them. But it'll be out there. Jesus had to tell me to take all 3 of those pages down before I could do it. So God's going to make it right, because he's got all power and control. And he said, if I want him to come home, he come home. How I'm going to do it, and when I'm going to do it. And they're not going to be able to stop that, which I already know. But God sometimes has to remind you, you just be still. Don't worry about it. I already got it handled. So he going to come home, because God wants him back home to live with his mother. But what they did is going to be out there for the whole world to see. Because it really ain't been busted wide open like God can bust it wide open. But he's using me to expose these people. And then he'll get it where he busted wide open. I said, because ain't nobody can say I'm lying. Ain't nobody can say he lying. I said, because like I said, I seen my son actually get punched in the chest. I heard him be verbally abused. I heard him get physically abused. I seen him get physically abused and assaulted. I heard him set up and look my son in the face and see him cry, the emotional pain that he was feeling, where he was traumatized and in distress and distraught. As a mother, I said, I'm going to do, and that's what Jesus told me. I'm going to bring him home for you and me, you and him. Because my son will suffer, but I have too. And I have with him. Not as bad, but as a mother, to know your child is going through that. To see them being abused and neglected. To hear the pain in their voice. And the autism community is just as racist as this government filth that me and Marquis have in our life. Because that's the first pages I went to. Before I even created my pages, I went to the autism Facebook pages. Nothing. That's what autism ain't just about little white kids with blonde hair and blue eyes. And their treatments and therapy. But, they weren't interested. They don't care nothing about black families with autism and stuff. I said, they go all over about that guy named Alice Bornarakis, the one that the mother and her friend killed him. But they were having prayer vigils and petitions and everything. The autism community was right behind that because she was white. They see my picture and my son's picture, and they even give it and I told him he was being abused and neglected. Nothing. So, it's just, but I'm not surprised. Racism is in every fiber of this country. It's in everything, But anyway, let me go ahead and let you hear this. And like I said, you'll hear him say these things to me. This was on March the 6th, 2012. And he has never said, Mom, I had a cool day. I had fun and stuff like that. it was always him telling me how he had been treated, or please get me out of here. I love you. I miss you. I want to go home. This place sucks. It's noisy. Then I would come in there and I said, yeah, you know. And I said, what's the matter? You can take your head out of the thing. But he had been trying to blot out the environment, you know, the staff, the noise and stuff, hiding in his room. I mean, it's just sad. He would hide under the blanket, sitting in a chair and stuff. I said, so I ain't no scum. And you know, it's going to come to me. Heidi Hughes, Mike DeWine, John Kasich, that trash Rob Capardi, Michael Snow, Rothschild, black, white, purple, red, green. I don't got male, female. Ain't none of them going to come to me and say nothing. Because I had to get on a girl that I think she was kind of sweet on my son. Was holding his hand one time going, I said, well, you're not supposed to, you know, do that. That's unwanted. And, you know, I said, you can be therapeutic and try to reassure a resident without holding their hands and stuff. I said, that's going a little bit too personal. Mm-hmm. I said, that's not the way. Yeah, because I watched her, you know, I actually watched her walk holding his hand. She didn't have to lead him. It ain't like he was, but you could tell, and there was other incidences that you could tell that she was sweet on it, because my son is a good-looking young man and everything. She couldn't stand me, though. But none of them could stand me, because, like I said, you know, they didn't want you coming in there, because them people are used to doing everything behind closed doors. There's not really no oversight or accountability. Even the managers, Mike D. Snow, his answer was Marquis was trying to get his staff in trouble. I said, now, what an idiot. I said, because developmentally disabled people don't sit up and try to, you know, they really don't have the cognitive ability to try to sit up and say, oh, I'm going to get this staff member in trouble. I'm going to lie on them, lie on that and stuff. But that's what his answer was. So, but they're used to not having any kind of accountability. Like CDC told state police, the Ohio Highway Patrol, not to file a report when I seen that thug hit Marquis in the chest. So they've got away with a lot of stuff, and a lot of times, 99% of the time, it's hidden from the public. So it is like, what in the world are you doing coming in here saying these things? But I said it because I love my son, as any mother would. So anyway, but God will make this right. And I've seen him take an attorney off the planet. Then I'm going to play this tape because of how he had been running over people in court and abusing people in court and bragging about it. He thought he was unstoppable. He was very arrogant, very prideful. His name was David Belinky. And I also got a audio video on him and the conversation he had with me. And God was so angry with him. I felt it during the conversation, but I didn't know it was the wrath of God. I just knew there was a burning anger coming, not from me and not coming to me. It was just there. And I knew it was towards him, but I didn't know it was the wrath of God until within a year he died unexpectedly. But anyway, let me let you hear this recording. So you can see him saying, closing the door real hard. So he would tell me things that had happened before I got there. And I said, I know this is not your home because they slammed the door and everything. I'm going to let you hear it again. But at the beginning, he says he's not feeling all right. Then he said he was in shock and it's not fun here. It sucks here. It's boring here. And then he talks about he didn't like the noise from them shutting the door real hard and stuff. Because he would wait until I came in. And I guess he knew he could tell his mother. I said, I'd be venting to my mother too. And probably ask her to take me out of there too if I was treated like that. So let's hear this one more time. Here we go.
What you shocked about? Tell me what's going on. I thought this was something else. Oh, well, okay. Stop. This is not funny, man. It's not fun here, man. It's not fun. It's not. It's not fun. It's CDC. Well, this boy is such a...
So, you know, and when he was in emotional pain and upset, he would yell. And they didn't understand that. You know, they thought that since I was there, which proved that they didn't know anything about autism, you know, that he was supposed to be calm and quiet and somehow not vent to his mother. I said, he's got a disability. And I think more than somebody that doesn't have a developmental disability, he wasn't going to be calm about it. Now, I would de-escalate him, and it would take me some time depending on what he had been through and how much emotional pain and how upset he was. Because he didn't like it when they restrained him. He didn't like being abused and neglected and put in sensory overload. It was just too much for him. But if they were competent with taking care of autistic residents, then he wouldn't have to feel that way. He wouldn't have to go through that. And like I said, it ain't just CDC. It's been agencies. It's been home agencies, hospitals, the school. At least for me, my son, and I can prove everything that I said. I can go over all my evidence and pull it out. And say, this happened at school. This happened at this hospital. This happened with this agency and that agency. I can prove every bit of it. So it ain't just my imagination. But anyway, there you have it. These tapes will continue, or the audio videos will continue. And just make sure when you go to the other two pages, the neglect and abuse page, or the abuse and neglect page, and the justice page, just go to the very beginning when I first created the pages, and you'll see all the evidence coming up. Then the audio tape page, you can start from the beginning, or you can start from the most recent post. So I'm getting ready to post this one on there. And remember, I also have a YouTube channel. I think I mentioned that. And it's just full of audio videos, 60 and counting. And you can also see that videotape of when I last seen my son. It was so heartbreaking because they were trying to make him go off on me. Some nasty, fat white lady that was taking him out. And you can see that as well. Again, Happy New Year. Marquis, I miss you. I love you. Hang on in there. I'm looking forward to you coming back home soon. Jesus' time, Jesus' method. He's already got it handled. Happy New Year, sweetie. I miss you and love you more and more each and every single day. And that's it for now. More audio videos to come. Thank you for listening. Bye.